frosty day out at the river house. I'm here today, sans the little one, in order to hopefully put the chimney in. Well, get the chimney apart, put the other stove in. Ugly as she might be, I'm afraid. Also, to look for a missing video camera, which I just found on the pristine shelf of a pressboard varnished vanity. Look at that. Quality! See if we can get that stove in. It's cold. Our little adventure starts up here. You can see I got a ratchet strap and I have sandwiched a chunk of wood to the chimney and then brace that up on a crossbar. Hopefully that'll prevent the whole thing from dropping down. I can only think of one thing that would make this whole thing worse. Ripping a chimney out of the ceiling so I have to go up on the roof on the snow. We've already established this thing is missing its slip joint. There's really not a whole lot I can do short of cutting it. Which I know it's not the proper solution, but it's the solution I'm going to use. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off right there. This thing is quite a bit shorter. So there's the slip joint on top of the coupler. And that will allow me to have about 2 inches, 3 inches up inside this pipe, but only if I cut it off right there. It's a shame to lose this piece. It'll have to be replaced if anybody wants to use the Franklin stove or if I want to sell it or something. But such is life, I'm afraid. That looks okay. It's a little crooked. My little device upstairs didn't hold, so the whole thing dropped down. So in the end I did have to reset the chimney. Luckily I didn't have to go on the roof. Problem is I am 100% sans drills today. Big oversight on my part. So I don't have any way to screw it all together. It's going to be a problem. Gonna have to get crafty if I want to see it chooch. Wire wheel and a coat of paint, and that thing's probably worth 200 bucks. Not going to take it anywhere right now, not until I know whether or not this works. Pretty low-tech solutions. Use the nail, I sharpen with the grinder, the kid's rock hammer. Punch 2 holes on either side. Since I'm without drills, like I said, a pretty big oversight on my part. I think I've got it wedged up as high as I possibly can. There's my original mark right there, and I managed to lift it another ½ inch. Of course, this being on the inside, creosote and crap like that can easily run down. So we'll have to see, and smoke in theory could ooze out of right here. Again, we'll have to see what it does, and it might need one of those big band clamps that goes all the way around everything. But I think once the ash and the soot get in there a bit, it'll stop leaking. Now to go remove my apparatus upstairs, and let's put a fire in her. Here we go, first fire. Would have helped if the wood wasn't quite so wet. It is drafting very nicely though. It doesn't draft very well. This is probably a mistake. And I know that a bunch of you essentially told me that, but I gotta be me. Make my own choices, screw up my own stuff. It is burning. I have the damper wide open and the door sealed shut. A lot of that steam is because it's burning a bunch of wet wood. I got it off to the sides. Some dry stuff in the middle, but it's not super dry. So she's maybe not being showcased at her best, but it isn't exactly blowing my skirts up. To assuage my disappointment, I'm hiking in deep snow up to the water because my geologist neighbor, he does his job is to go into abandoned mines and reopen them. Anyways, he said that a lot of the springs up here are actually hot springs, not Yellowstone hot springs, but just like 50-60 degree hot springs, and that often in the springtime, if you hike along the edge of these hills, you can smell sulfur coming out of them. It's been bothering me. How come up here on top of this mountain I've got West Coast plants, Oregon grape, salmon berries, sword ferns? How in the world have they survived minus 20, minus 30 degree winters here in Montana? So I'm going up to see if it's maybe a hot spring. Basically just to poke around and see if the snow is melting out up there. The bees can't get me in the wintertime, so maybe I'll hike on in. Who knows? I'm not wearing hip boots. I prefer my insulated boots for this, but the old mucklucks will do. Unless it starts to get all swampy. Nothing like a good hike to make yourself feel better when you got a disappointing crappy stove waiting at home. Well, I don't know what I thought I'd see out here. Steam, melted snow, something. I'm right in the thick of it. Those are the stalks of sword ferns. I've never been able to actually walk in this location, so I'm standing on top of the snow, which is standing on top of everything else. These are birches. That's a big alder. That's an aspen. Those are either aspen or poplar. That's sword ferns. Everything seems to say this area is warmer and wetter than it should be. My pool of water is either right there, or right there. I'll try to come around the other side. Just up the road a little ways, there are hot springs. But it could also just be a regular spring. Either or. Sure would be nice if it was even 50 degrees. Run it through a heat exchanger. That would be really nice. Well, the camera's dying, so I guess I better call it a day. It's pretty cool to see up here in the wintertime. Would have been neat to see this hillside before it burned. It's been 15, 20 years, something like that. That's our little spring area. I didn't see anything down there that would indicate open steam and water. A spring and a beautiful view and a stiff hike. So, to recap, we found the camera that I was afraid was going to be gone forever. Score. We got the stove put in. It went easy, more or less. Score. Stove's kind of a disappointment. Not so score. The snow was not too deep for me to hike up here. Score. No obvious signs of open steaming water. It would have been really cool to have a hot spring. open water is still a win in my book. Fireplace is still steaming down there. This is a spot that I've never actually walked to. I've been down there, and I've been up there, but never right here. Thanks for watching.